All right, so picture this Ethel Mertz,
Mm-hmm.
you know, America's favorite landlady.
Yeah.
She picks up little Arnold Jackson and chucks him off a double-decker bus.
Oh, wow.
Sounds like a bad joke, right?
know.
But you know what they say about truth being stranger than fiction?
That's right. That's right.
And that's kind of what we're diving into today. This whole idea of Vivian Vance
Okay.
supposedly throwing Gary Coleman off a bus.
Wow.
So we've got a bunch of different sources here.
Okay.
We've got excerpts from Conrad Bain's autobiography.
Mhm.
We've got a Mary Jo Catlett interview on TM Magazine.
Oh, okay.
Even a little blurb from NBC Nightly News.
Interesting.
A New York Times piece. And get this,
Okay.
an interview with the bus driver
What himself? Really?
in the New York Post.
Wow.
So we're
That's
gonna
amazing.
try to unpack this.
Yeah, paint the picture for us.
Yeah, it's 1984
Okay.
in New York City.
Right.
Diff'rent Strokes is filming an episode on location,
Mm-hmm.
and Vivian Vance is the guest star.
I see. I see.
So
Interesting.
most of the accounts that we have describe a pretty normal
Right.
day of filming. That took a turn.
Okay.
So Conrad Bain,
Mhm.
who played, Mr. Drummond on the show,
Yeah, yeah.
he knew both Vance and Coleman personally,
Okay.
and he actually wrote about this
He did.
in his autobiography.
Oh, wow.
And he was describing sensing this kind of playful energy between them
Okay.
during like a break in filming.
Yeah.
And he kind of chalked it up to Vance being
Yeah.
a little smitten
Yeah.
with Coleman.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah.
And it's interesting, right? Because
Yeah.
you've got,
Yeah.
even if her intentions were harmless,
Right.
you've got to think about there's a huge power differential there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coleman was still a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
Navigating a world built for and by adults.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
we also have Mary Jo Catlett,
Okay.
who played the housekeeper on Diff'rent Strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And she was interviewed on PM Magazine
Right.
a while back. And she
Yeah.
touched on this incident as well.
And what did she say?
She described it with this, like, nervous laughter.
Oh, really?
Almost like she still couldn't believe that it had happened.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
it's hard to say for sure what she was feeling in that moment.
Right.
But it's definitely a detail that stands out to me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Now, this is where things escalate.
Okay.
According to multiple sources, including Bain's autobiography,
Right.
Gary, being the sharp-witted kid he was,
Yeah.
eventually retorted to Vance's attention with something like, and I quote,
Right.
"You're a little too old and ugly for my taste. No offense."
Oh, my goodness.
Right. He did not.
Which, teenager or not,
I know, but still.
is a pretty bold statement
Yeah.
to make to someone like Vivian Vance.
Yeah, that's pretty gutsy.
And you can bet it got a reaction.
I bet it did.
And because what happens next is
Yeah.
the million-dollar question,
What's that?
the thing that launched 1,000 rumors.
Huh. Okay. So we're talking.
So picture this.
Okay.
This crowded double-decker bus
Yeah.
in the middle of New York City.
Okay.
And this whole exchange goes down.
All right. All right.
And then
Yeah.
most of the accounts that we have say that Vivian Vance,
Okay.
in a moment of, I don't know,
On her.
uber bewilderment, I guess,
Okay.
picks up Gary Coleman and throws him off the top deck of the bus.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
I know, right?
Wow.
It's like,
That's crazy.
how do you even process that?
I know.
1 minute you're on a film set,
Yeah.
the next,
I.
a beloved TV icon is chucking your co-star off a bus.
Right. It's wild.
I can't even imagine
Yeah.
what was going through people's minds.
I know. Talk about a story.
But this is where it gets crazy.
Okay.
Gary Coleman didn't hit the pavement.
He didn't. What?
Oh.
How is that even possible?
So he's not hitting the pavement after being thrown off the top deck of a bus.
Yeah.
Where is he landing?
I don't know. You tell me.
Are you ready for this?
Okay.
Most accounts, including Conrad Bain's firsthand account,
Okay.
claim that Gary landed in a pile of tourist T-shirts.
You're kidding, right?
I know.
You mean tell me?
Yeah.
He got thrown off the top of a bus
Uh-huh.
and he just happened to land on a pile of T-shirts
Apparently.
that were conveniently placed there.
Oh. Yeah?
Wow.
I guess so.
What are the odds?
It's just too incredible to be true.
It really is.
But we see it corroborated in multiple sources.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Yeah.
the New York Times piece mentions the incident with a degree of seriousness.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Highlighting the danger involved. And
Yeah.
then we have this New York Post interview
Okay.
with the bus driver.
What do you have to say?
Okay, so his name is Morning Fart, and I am not making that up.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
The bus driver's name is Morning Fart.
That's what it says in the New York Post.
I've never heard that one before. Wow.
Right.
Okay, so what did Morning Fart have to say about this?
So he claims he didn't actually see the event,
Okay.
but he heard a commotion,
Right.
and he heard a young voice yelling something like,
Uh.
"Hey, I ain't no paper airplane."
Oh my God, that sounds exactly like something he'd say.
Right.
Classic Gary Coleman.
Only Gary Coleman could turn a near-death experience into a punchline.
And that's true, but you have to wonder,
Right.
was that, just him being him? Or
Yeah.
was there something else going on there?
Right. Was there a deeper layer of like a coping mechanism?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It makes you think,
Right.
especially for, a kid in that kind of situation.
It's like they say,
Yeah.
laughter is the best medicine, or in this case, the best defense mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But even with all that luck,
Right.
and let's be real, he was incredibly lucky.
Oh, yeah.
This could have gone very differently.
Absolutely.
There were still repercussions.
Right.
And that's where the different perspectives become even more interesting.
Okay. How so?
Well, remember that Wildest Hollywood Stories podcast you mentioned?
Uh-huh.
They used this whole incident for a whole episode,
Right.
just playing up the absurdity of it all.
Okay.
Like, they even talk about the homeless man that Gary supposedly landed on.
Oh, no.
Like, oh my goodness.
Oh, God.
Right. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
When you go back to the primary sources,
Right.
like Conrad Bain's autobiography,
Yeah.
he mentions that the homeless man was really shaken up by it all.
Right. Of course.
Understandably so.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the craziness of the story.
Exactly.
But it wasn't just a harmless prank gone wrong.
No, absolutely not.
It was a situation that could have had
Yeah,
very real consequences.
for sure.
And I think that makes it so interesting.
That's what makes it so fascinating, yeah.
And it really makes you think about what if this happened today?
Oh, I know, right? With social media, 24/7 news cycles.
Absolutely.
It'd be a whole different ball game.
Oh, yeah, this would be everywhere. Right.
Front page news.
But back then, it seems like,
Yeah.
even though it was this shocking thing that happened, it
Yeah.
was mostly contained,
Right.
No lawsuits, no public feuds.
No,
Vance's career
yeah.
didn't seem to be affected at all.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if there was like a deliberate attempt to just kind of
Right.
sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, to protect the show
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
Vivian Vance's image.
Exactly. Which happens
Yeah, for sure.
all the time, even today.
All the time. Just
Yeah.
makes you wonder about all the stories we don't hear.
Right, exactly. All the things that happen that,
Yeah, that just get buried for whatever reason.
yeah, I mean, we'll never know about.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
what about Vivian Vance?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, how did she react after all this?
Because you have to imagine,
Yes.
like,
yeah.
she's got to be feeling something
Right.
after this, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Like, to realize what you've done.
it was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, exactly.
what have I done?
Yeah.
So most accounts agree that Vance was
Yeah.
immediately remorseful, right?
Okay.
Like the gravity of the situation hit her,
Right.
and she was just horrified.
The weight of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mary Jo Catlett even said
Yeah.
in that PM Magazine interview
Yeah.
that Vance was like a statue,
Oh, wow.
just stunned.
Yeah, just completely shocked.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you do something and then
Yeah.
you realize after, oh my God, what have I done?
Right. And this is where I think Conrad Bain's perspective is really, really valuable,
Okay, why?
because he writes in his autobiography about pulling Vance aside
Okay.
and having what he calls a heart-to-heart.
Oh, wow.
And he basically lays down the law.
He did. What'd he say?
Yeah, reminding her that Gary is just a kid
Yeah.
and her behavior is just not acceptable.
Right, of course.
And it's easy to forget that,
Yeah.
Conrad Bain, Mr. Drummond,
Right.
he was known for being this
Yeah.
really kind and level-headed guy.
Right.
So for him to step in like that
Yeah. You really.
really says something.
Yeah, he must have been really troubled by it
Exactly.
for him to say something.
Yeah, yeah. And to Vance's credit,
Yeah.
it seemed like she took his words to heart.
Yeah.
Most accounts mention her apologizing to
Yeah.
Gary Leslie.
Right. And the rest of the cast and crew.
Well, that's good at least.
Right.
Yeah.
But whether that was enough or not,
Yeah, we'll never really know.
that's something we'll never know.
That's the thing about these stories, right?
Right.
There's always going to be that little bit of mystery.
It's true because we're just working with what
Yeah.
we have.
Exactly.
We're piecing together this puzzle
Right.
with a lot of missing pieces.
Like we have half the pieces, maybe even less.
Right.
And we're just trying to make it work.
Yeah, and these are memories that may have shifted.
And interpretations.
Yeah.
Opinions.
Right.
And
yeah.
it's all just so subjective,
Absolutely. So, I mean, this event, as wild as it is.
I know, it's hard to wrap your head around. It really is. The idea of Ethel Mertz chucking Arnold Jackson off a bus.
Right. You see those names together, and you never think something like that's going to come up.
Exactly.
But it really does make you think.
Yeah.
About the pressures of fame.
Absolutely.
Especially for someone so young.
Yeah.
Like, what that does to a person.
Right. And just the dynamics of power.
Oh, absolutely.
On and off screen.
Totally. Yeah. Those lines can get really blurry.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
It is. It really makes you think about, how much do we really know?
Right.
About what goes on behind the scenes.
Exactly. It's like how much of this is reality imitating art?
Right.
Or vice versa.
Or is it all just one big
performance?
Exactly. And it just reminds us that history is rarely black and white.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's always more to the story than we see on the surface.
There are always layers to uncover.
Yes.
Perspectives to consider.
And even in the most outlandish situations, there's always a human side to it.
Right.
There are real people.
Exactly.
It's real feelings.
It just goes to show that sometimes the most unexpected events, the ones that make you do a double take, those are the ones that teach us the most.
Absolutely.
About who we are, about the stories we tell, and the way we remember them.
And how those stories shape us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll leave you with this.
Okay.
What other seemingly unbelievable events from Hollywood's past might hold deeper meanings?
That's a great question.
What stories have you heard that make you wonder what really happened that day?
Exactly.
Keep asking questions.
Yeah, keep digging.
Keep digging for those hidden truths.
Because the truth is out there.
And remember,
sometimes
the most outlandish tales turn out to be.
They turn out to be.
The ones closest to reality.
That's right. You never really know.
Until next time.
Yeah, see you next time.